This is the new second generation Skoda Kodiaq. It's bigger, bolder and more advanced than before, plus it gets plug-in hybrid power for the first time. But what are the details exactly, and will the new Kodiaq carry on where its very impressive predecessor left off? Keep watching to find out everything you need to know. But first, subscribe to our channel to see lots more videos like this, and go to whatcar.com for a great deal on your next car. So, the Skoda Kodiaq was the Czech manufacturer's first 7-seater, and it struck gold at the very first attempt. When it launched in 2017, it was clear this was an extremely practical SUV, offering loads of space, a comfortable ride, and Skoda's legendary value for money. This is the second generation Kodiaq, and it sports a different look on the outside. This apparently is the first production car to take inspiration from Skoda's new design direction, giving it a slightly more rugged look than before. Highlights include squared-off wheel arches, a heavily sculpted bonnet, model badging in a new font, as well as a prominent hexagonal grille. As an option, you can add an LED strip behind it to illuminate it, similar to what the fully electric Skoda Kodiaq offers. Would you give this a tick on the options list? This is also the first production car to feature Skoda's new, mildly different logo as well. The Kodiaq is the biggest Skoda in its current lineup. It sits above the Kodiaq and the Kamiq, and it has always been a big car, but this new one is even longer than before. In total, it is 61mm longer, but the distance between the front and rear wheels is actually the same, which should mean interior space is just as practical as before. Skoda is, though, claiming that with a slight rejigging of the roofline, the third row passengers in the new Kodiaq should apparently benefit from 15mm more headroom than they had before. Luggage capacity is also up on what was already a very practical car. 5-seat versions of the new Kodiaq will have 910 litres of boot space, which is 75 litres more than the current car, which had space for 9 carry-on size suitcases in its boot. The 7-seat version, of course, loses some space to the third row seats, but still has 340 litres of room available, which is 70 litres more than before. With the third row down, there's up to 845 litres back there, which again is more generous than the old model. But these changes in dimensions sound helpful rather than game-changing, which isn't a problem considering how practical the first generation model was anyway. But it's not just different in the back of the Kodiaq. Up front, there's a 10-inch digital driver display, for the first time an optional head-up display, and a new freestanding touchscreen infotainment system, which is either 10 or 13 inches, depending on your trim level. There's even a screen wiper that comes with the car to help clean up the fingerprints you leave on it. But the major news is the inclusion of 3 physical dials. Anyone who's been watching our car reviews over the last few years will no doubt be aware that there has been a huge trend for manufacturers ditching physical controls in favour of putting everything on a touchscreen. This, in every instance, is a huge backward step for usability. Touchscreens are far more distracting to use while driving than physical buttons. Which is why it's very encouraging to see Skoda not only stick with physical buttons on the steering wheel, rather than opting for very fiddly touch-sensitive ones we've seen in some other rivals, but also buck the trend and treat us to 3 so-called smart dials at the bottom of the dash. Each has a 32mm digital display, and the outer 2 are used to adjust the full suite of climate controls. The middle one can be configured to adjust the infotainment volume, driving modes, and some other features. Of course, it's brilliant to see a new car revealed with physical controls, not just lumping everything onto a fiddly touchscreen. But we'll have to reserve judgment on these smart dials until we actually get a chance to use them. And even if they are impressive, will they be better than the very basic but very effective setup the old Kodiaq had? Elsewhere up front, the gear selector is now mounted on the steering column, making the centre console tidier and apparently boosting the storage cubby capacity by 2.1 litres. The interior can be specified in one of 4 packages: Loft, Lounge and 2 variations of Eco Suite. All textiles are said to be made from either 100% recycled polyester or 40% natural wool. The famous Skoda ice scraper and umbrella are said to be made from sustainable materials as well. And if you like these optional leather seats, they are apparently tanned with residue left over from coffee bean processing. Perhaps the main headline news with the new generation Kodiaq is the introduction of the Kodiaq IV. It's a plug-in hybrid version of this SUV which pairs a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with an electric motor for a total output of 201 brake horsepower. It has a very impressive claimed electric-only range of more than 62 miles from its 25.7 kilowatt-hour battery, which is stored under the boot. This makes it one of the longest range plug-in hybrids on sale. Of course, in real-world driving conditions, the actual electric range it offers will be significantly less than 62 miles, but still, that is very impressive compared to all new plug-in hybrids around today. And it's not just the range which impresses. It can accept a charging rate of up to 50 kilowatts, which means you can top it up using fast public chargers. And that's something not many other plug-in hybrids can do. Aside from the PHEV, the new Kodiaq has a similar engine lineup to the old car. There are two pure combustion engines in the form of two turbocharged 4-cylinder petrols or diesels, with outputs ranging between 148 brake horsepower and 201 brake horsepower, and each paired to a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic gearbox. There is no manual option. Apparently, 97% of first-generation Kodiaqs sold were chosen with the auto, so it's no surprise really that a manual doesn't feature with the new model. The entry-level 1.5-litre petrol engine which drives the front wheels is equipped with a 48-volt mild hybrid setup, which is another first for the Kodiaq. And it also has cylinder deactivation technology to help reduce consumption while cruising. Skoda has yet to reveal any official MPG or emissions figures, however. The most potent 2-litre petrol and 2-litre diesel engines get 4-wheel drive as standard. There is no word yet on plans for a hot Kodiaq VRS range topper, but notably the closely related VW Tiguan is available with a 261 brake horsepower 4-wheel drive plug-in hybrid option, which could feasibly be deployed in the new Kodiaq. This Kodiaq and the new Tiguan are very closely related, by the way. And if you want to find out everything that's new with the new generation Tiguan, then click on the link at the top of the screen. That Tiguan will once again be a rival to the new Kodiaq, even though you won't be able to get a 7-seat version of the VW in its latest generation. It's not just the Tiguan that the Kodiaq will be up against though. Other 7-seaters this will count as rivals include the Peugeot 5008 and the Kia Sorento, as well as the new Hyundai Santa Fe. Prices for all Kodiaq models will be revealed closer to the car's launch in mid-2024. But it's of course expected that the new SUV will come at a slight premium compared with its predecessor. The outgoing model starts from £34,760 and tops out at £49,335. While the higher trim levels and faster engines have always pushed the price up pretty high, the entry-level part of the Kodiaq lineup has always been very competitive against its rivals. And in fact, that was a big part of the appeal of the first-generation car. Hopefully, that will still be the case with the new model, but we'll have to wait and see when Skoda releases full details. So that's everything we know so far about the new Skoda Kodiaq. Thanks for watching, tell us in the comments what you think of this new SUV, and go to whatcar.com for a great deal on your next car.